and this French warship is fully equipped to deal with all sorts of Houthi threats. At the front of the boat, you may be able to see it poking out. There's the boat's cannon, and there's also a huge amount of anti-aircraft missiles.
Okay, so we talked before about the Houthis, but I'm gonna give a quick refresher as to what's going on. So the Houthi are Yemeni. They're the army of Yemeni, even though the State Department, the United States government, and their allies label them as some ragtag group of terrorists running around in sandals with AK-47s in the desert. But they're actually a professional army, and the United States and their allies have been having trouble with them. They've been fighting the Houthis. We have thousands of U.S. military service members over there in the Red Sea area in the Indian Ocean in combat against Yemen, and we have thousands of NATO troops down there as well. But we don't want to talk about that. The media doesn't want to talk about that. They don't want us to know that this quote-unquote operation is costing billions of dollars, and who knows what else. I already did that video about the possibility that a couple of SEALs were deleted, but of course they're not going to tell us straight up. So when Russia launches a special military operation, oh, this is a war, you're lying. Why would you label it a special military operation? You're so dumb. But we do the same thing. All of our wars, we label them as some quote-unquote operation. So this latest war against the country of Yemen, we call it Operation Prosperity Guardian. And the reason why we're engaged in this war is because the Houthi, the Yemeni, are in support of the Palestinians. They want to go to war with Israel. They're shooting missiles. They're trying to block all types of commerce. 30% of cargo ships go through the Red Sea right next to Yemen. And the Houthis, they're either hijacking the ships, they're shooting the ships, they're scaring the ships away in order to cause economic harm to Israel. And of course, the United States and the UK, because they are supporting Israel. Israel is the pet project of the United States. So what we're going to talk about is France, because Macron want to be Napoleon. He talked a lot of trash. They want to go to war with Putin, talking about, oh, we're going to put thousands of French troops in Odessa, up there near Belarus and North Ukraine. We want to put them in there in order to stop the Russians, because if we put the presence of France, maybe some Polish, Lithuanian troops down there, we're going to scare Putin. Putin is going to shit himself because he's afraid of us. Now, France can't even handle the Houthi. They labeled Yemen as, oh, this is the poorest region in the Middle East, the poorest country in the Middle East, Yemen. It's been in civil war for 10 years. It's a divided country. It's been bombed to hell. The U.S. has paid billions of dollars over the last decade for the UAE and Saudi Arabians to bomb the hell out of Yemen, and now the UK and the United States are directly bombing Yemen. Despite all of this, this third world country is holding its own against NATO. We got U.S. task force down there in Operation Prosperity Guardian, and Macron, he doesn't want to be on the U.S.'s boot anymore, so he formed his own group. He told the United States, no, I'm not joining your operation. I'm tired of being second fiddle to the United States. So he formed his own group of EU countries. He's got Greece, got Italy, got a couple other countries, and they call it Operation Asperities or something like that. So we got all of these ships down here trying to guide these cargo ships through the Gulf of Aden, through the Red Sea, so they can go on about their business, and also to scare the Yemeni and stop the Yemeni from launching missiles, hijacking ships. It's not working. Billions of dollars later, months later, it's not working. So let's look at what's happened to the French, because these big and bad French who talked all this trash, they think they can beat Russia. They're ducking the Houthi. They're running away. The commander said, look, man, it's too much shooting going on down here. We're not used to this. We got to go. So let's look at this article here. Yemen's uninhibited attacks push French warship to exit the Red Sea. So this is the warship here. Big and bad, costs all this money. They bring dozens of ships like this down to jump a third world country. Can you imagine that? A superpower and its flunkies ganging up on one of the poorest countries in the region, jumping a third world country, and it's not working out for them. It's almost as if NATO is all smoke and mirrors. France's Aquitaine class Freme frigate Alsace has turned tail from the Red Sea after running out of missiles and munitions, repelling attacks from the Yemeni armed forces, according to its commander Jerome Henry. We didn't necessarily expect this level of threat. Yeah, we thought we were going to go down there and gang up on a poor third world country. We didn't even know they were going to be firing missiles and possibly sinking our ship. There was an uninhibited violence that was quite surprising and very significant. And what the hell do you think is going to happen if you put French troops in Russia? If you think the Yemeni are violent, you think they're aggressive, you think they can throw hard punches, if you enter Russia, you're really going to find out. The Yemenis do not hesitate to use drones that fly at water level to explode them on commercial ships and to fire ballistic missiles, Henry told French news outlet Le Figaro in an exclusive interview published on 11th of April. We had to carry out at least half a dozen instances following Yemeni strikes, he added. The commander of the Houthis also revealed that after a 71-day deployment, all combat equipment was depleted. And that's one major issue with the French military. I'm trying to tell you, all these people talk about, oh, NATO, they'll wipe the floor with Russia. These weak-ass European countries is all talk. Paper tiger, smoke and mirrors. France does not have the capability, the logistical capability, nor the weapons production capability to deploy in long range, like down there to the Red Sea, over there in Ukraine. They don't have the capability to sustain troops. They put this ship down there and 2 months later they got to go because they're out of munitions. They need to go. They might get sunk. If they put troops over there in Russia, they won't be able to sustain those troops. Those troops may last a few days or a week before they're out of rations, out of munitions and everything. And France lacks the logistical capability to sustain those troops. From the Aster missile to the 7.62 machine gun or the helicopter, including the 12.7 millimeter, 20 millimeter, and 76 millimeter cannon, that cannon that the lady was bragging about. Oh, look at this. This is big and bad. The French got all types of defenses. They're going to stop the Houthis. We dealt with 3 ballistic missiles and a half dozen drones, Henriette. That's all. That's all it took for y'all to duck and run back home to France. According to the French commander, the Franco-Italian Aster missile, each carrying a price up to $2 million, was pushed to its limits by the Yemeni armed forces as the Houthis had to use it on targets that we didn't necessarily imagine at the start. Here he added that Sana'a, that's the capital of Yemen, had markedly increased its use of ballistic missiles after relying mainly on suicide drones at the start of the country's pro-Palestine operation in the Red Sea, and stressed that the French Navy has not faced such a tough battle since NATO collectively launched its 2011 war on Libya to depose the late ruler Muammar Gaddafi. I was there too. It wasn't the same thing. It has been even longer since we engaged with this level of weaponry and violence. The threat to the boat was much greater in the Red Sea, Henry notes. So one thing that NATO and the United States are coming to terms with is these countries that they've been picking on, they've been ganging up on 25 nations, 30 nations, ganging up on weak countries like Syria, like Afghanistan, like Libya. The parity is changing. So you have all this power and you go jump these weak countries who are super poor, have nothing to fight back with. But now these countries are gaining military capability. Look at what Iran just did to Israel. That's a different video, but I might talk about that in detail. It shows that these countries are increasing in military might. So the Houthi, they want you to believe they're a ragtag group of sorry warriors running around in the desert, but these guys have sophisticated weaponry. And NATO, with all its might, 2 full-blown naval task force sent by NATO countries are not able to stop these guys because they have sophisticated drones, they have good targeting, they have ballistic missiles that can sink these ships, and their weapons don't cost nearly as much. They spend a couple of $1,000s on the drone, and France has to spend millions of dollars every time they strike. Stop a little drone, $2 million. And next thing you know, they run out of them. So France they ducked the Houthi because it was too much for them. They can't handle it. They can't deploy and sustain troops. All they are is smoke and mirrors. Just like the UK, just like Germany, just like Spain. I can go in length about these weak-ass NATO countries, but all these people believe the hype. They believe the propaganda because that's one of the biggest weapons. In fact, the biggest weapon that NATO has is this propaganda, making citizens believe all the bluster, all the talk about how strong they are. But in reality, these countries can't really do anything. Europe is trash militarily. In fact, I think Ukraine will wipe the floor with a country like France. So now this operation is failing, and they're asking for reinforcements. So you got all these ships, thousands of NATO troops down there to fight the Yemeni. You got all of these jets and everything, and you need reinforcements. Imagine them trying to fight Russia. They need all of this to fight Yemen. These guys have been fighting Yemen for months and they can't handle it. Asking for even more. All these countries jump in this poor country. Yeah, right, man. All this talk about NATO wiping the floor with Russia is, again, propaganda, smoke and mirrors. It's a damn shame, man. But people are brainwashed. People believe this stuff. Reinforcements of the forces operating in the Red Sea region as part of the European Operation Aspades, Greek for shield, is going to be requested by Brussels by the head of the operation, Rear Admiral Vasilis Graparis. The EU naval mission in the Red Sea was launched in February to protect merchant ships from attacks by Iran-aligned Houthi rebels as part of their declared campaign in solidarity with Hamas. So, let's look at this little video here. This is another video they're showing. Oh, look at us. We got our ship down here. Look at this big and bad French ship. We're protecting the cargo ships. You see those cargo ships over there? As long as we're down there, everything's going to be okay. You can send your cargo ships through the Gulf of Aden, through the Red Sea, because these trash Yemeni, they can't do anything. And next thing you know, this ship ducks. This ship runs away back home to France. And commander is saying, yeah, we haven't experienced this, man. Like, this is violent. We're used to fighting people who can't fight back. But damn, these guys got ballistic missiles. That's not fair. I know it's 30 of us in NATO, over 30 of us. We can jump somebody, but it's not fair that they have ballistic missiles to shoot back. Cowardice, man. As Vice Admiral Gaparis tells EU News, Euronews, the radius of operations envisaged by the mission is very large and cannot be covered with the existing means. At the moment, we have seen a relative stabilization of the decline in the volume of ships passing through the area. We will need more time to have more valuable conclusions, but we think that since each ship can accompany a certain number of merchant ships, if the number of ships was larger, we could accompany more ships, and therefore we could hope for a recovery of shipping traffic through these straits. Yeah, Israel, their economy has been ravaged. First of all, they got 400,000 people armed to fight the Palestinians and possibly the Lebanese and Hezbollah. You take all of these people away from work, because remember, most of these people are reserves. So you take them away from the Israeli economy and now they're not working. Your economy is going to take a massive hit. Then on top of that, a lot of ships are being diverted and it's costing even more. So the cost of goods is increasing. So it seems like right now the Yemeni, they are having some success along with their allies over there in the Middle East, because yeah, prices of stuff is going up like crazy over there in Israel. And all of these countries who are willing to risk their own citizens' lives, their own soldiers, their own troops' lives to protect Israel, they're having trouble because they thought it was just going to be some easy mission, but they're saying we need even more. We have all of this. We have thousands of troops down here. We have all these ships down here. We have all this expensive, fancy tech down here, but we still can't stop them. And in most of these ships, 2/3, 67% of the traffic through the Red Sea has stopped, and they're going all the way around Africa the long way. And the Houthi found a solution to that. Now they're shooting into the Indian Ocean to make them divert even further, costing even more money. The missions for frigates from Greece, Germany, France, and Italy patrolled a vast area stretching from the southern Red Sea to the northwestern Indian Ocean. The area is almost twice the size of the European Union. So far, 79 ships have been protected, and none of them have been attacked live, because we've seen the ship, the Ruben Mars, sink, didn't it? European forces have neutralized 9 drones, 1 unmanned surface vessel, as well as 4 ballistic missiles. That's it? That's all y'all neutralized? The new front has opened in the Middle East between Israel and Iran does not seem to affect the Shield's operation up to now, but the situation is being closely monitored, says Rear Admiral Graparis. Yeah, so imagine if something does happen. We've seen a little tip for tap between Iran and Israel, but if stuff gets even hotter and these EU countries are called to go into the Persian Gulf to go closer to Iran, they simply can't handle it. They don't have the capability. And then the reason why the United States was begging Israel to not escalate things with Iran was because they don't want to be exposed. They know NATO are smoke and mirrors. They know these EU countries are trash as hell and they can't handle it. And the United States is stretched so thin and military is so depleted that they can't even handle it. So if things go hot with Iran while they're trying to support Ukraine at the same time, NATO will be exposed as being smoke and mirrors. Like I keep saying, these countries can't handle it. When they're stretched to their limits and running from Yemen, imagine what happens when they try to deploy to Ukraine and when Iran makes a serious attack on Israel. The duration of the mission is 1 year, but then the conditions will be assessed in order to decide the mission needs to continue. Yeah, they can't wait for this thing to end because they're spending all of this money and then being exposed as weak as hell. They're being exposed as not being able to handle this weak third world country, the poorest country over in the Middle East, ganging up on this weak country. Apparently, it's not as weak as they say it is. Who's really the weak one here when you have all of these countries jumping one, but you're losing? Your airstrike's not working. United States and UK sending aircraft over there, launching from places like Djibouti and other places in the region, and some off the aircraft carrier. The Houthis are setting up decoy targets. The satellites will pick them up and say, okay, that's the target. They go spend $1 million missile to hit the target. A decoy. Yeah, so bottom line is France is trash, man. France is a third-rate military, but they have the perception, oh, it's a NATO country. We got the fancy Western tech, and Russia's trash, Iran is trash, Yemen is weak and sorry. Who's running? The French commander said, man, there's too much shooting over here. We got to go. This is too much for us. We're not used to this. We even fought in Libya back in 2011. That was a lot of shooting, but god dang, this is more. It's not fair that we jump a country and they have the ability to fight back. We need to find somebody to jump that can't fight back. So let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you think of the state of the sorry ass French military. Leave me your thoughts below. Share the video. Thanks for watching.